There's been a lot of coverage in the media this week about offshore companies avoiding paying tax, and there's growing public anger about these companies because by avoiding their taxation obligations they are depriving the exchequer of billions of pounds every year for money that could be spent on health, social care, social services, housing, education. And here in Ramsgate we've got our own example of offshore tax avoidance, and it's the Dreamland amusement park in Margate. After 100 years of operations, Dreamland Amusement Park closed to the public in 2005. It was left for almost a decade to decay and become derelict, and was reopened again in June 2015. The cost of the restoration and refurbishment of the park was somewhere in the region of about £20 million, and that was public money which came from Thanet District Council, various government grants and the National Lottery. The original plan for reopening Dreamland was for the park to be managed by a not-for-profit community interest company, with all the profit generated by the park being reinvested into further developments within the amusement park and also in the local community. And alongside the Turner Contemporary, which opened a few years early on the seafront, these two organisations, the Turner and Dreamland, were seen as a very, very important driving force to regenerate the local economy, which for one of the most deprived seaside towns in England, everybody agreed was a great thing. But it didn't work out quite like that. Rather than appoint a not-for-profit organisation to run the Dreamland amusement park, Thanet District Council in its wisdom decided instead to appoint a commercial organisation to run the amusement park, and that organisation was Sands Heritage Limited, which was a spin-off from the Sands Hotel behind me. And the boss of the Sands Hotel, and also the boss of Sands Heritage, which took over the management of the Dreamland amusement park, was a man called Nick Connington. And many people, myself included, were amazed that Thanet Council awarded the management contract of Dreamland to Sands Heritage. This was a brand new company with no track record of trading and absolutely no experience of running a £20 million amusement park. And sadly, our worries and our concerns were proved to be right. Within less than a year of the Dreamland amusement park opening to the public, Sands Heritage became insolvent, owing its creditors a reported £8.3 million. It went into administration in May 2016, and at this point in time, an aggressive tax-avoiding, offshore registered hedge fund became involved in the rescue of Sands Heritage and Dreamland. And that hedge fund was Cayman Island registered Aragras Master Fund. And for those of you who don't already know, the Cayman Islands are a Caribbean tax haven which is reputedly a very popular place for the royal family and various other gangsters, money launderers, criminals, drugs barons and petty dictators to invest their ill-gotten gains in. But it's no surprise that Aragras became involved in investing in and trying to rescue Dreamland because the boss of Sands Heritage, Nick Connington, had a long-standing friendship and business association with the boss of the Aragras Empire, Nick Neal, In fact, Nick Connington worked with Nick Neal in Arrowgrass for about 6 years in the early 2000s. So what we have is Arrowgrass Nick agreeing to provide some financial help and assistance to Sans Heritage Nick. After becoming involved in Dreamland in 2016, Arrowgrass invested heavily in the amusement park, spending a reported £25 million on improving and expanding the park. One of the big changes was the development of this huge 15,000 capacity arena for music gigs and the restoration of the Hall by the Sea, turning it into another 2,500 capacity music venue. Some of the money was used to fund a £600,000 settlement for the creditors of Sans Heritage, and in May this year Sans Heritage also bought out all of the shareholders of Sans Heritage for an undisclosed sum, which means that Arrowgrass, a Cayman Island registered hedge fund, is now in charge of running and managing the Dreamland amusement park, which is a far cry from the original idea of having a not-for-profit community interest company running the park. So what are Arrowgrass's plans for Dreamland? Well, first of all, I think that they want to expand the amusement park, and as I've already said, I believe that they intend to turn the amusement park also into a major music venue. But I also believe that they have plans to dominate and take over the seafront leisure, entertainment and hotel business in Margate. And why do I say that? Well, let's follow the money, because a big part of the £25 million that Arrowgrass is reported to have spent on Dreamland has actually gone on the purchase of property around and close to the Dreamland amusement park. And let's start here across the road with the Cinque Ports pub. That was bought by Arrowgrass for £650,000. Or the former Escape nightclub on Margate Seafront, which was purchased by Arrowgrass for £500,000. Or the so-called Godden Gap, which was purchased by Arrowgrass for £1.1 million. Or the Dreamland Amusement Centre, which was bought by Arrowgrass for £1.3 million. And there's more. This summer, Arrowgrass did a deal with the owners of the Arlington House car park to use this space for their visitors. And according to reports in the papers, Arrowgrass is in negotiations with the leaseholders of Arlington House, property giant Freshwaters, and the freeholders, Thanet District Council, to buy this entire site, the tower block, the car parking and the shops at the front, which all go with this piece of land, presumably to expand the theme park, which is right next door, or maybe to build a hotel, who knows. But certainly I'm hearing strong rumours that this site is up for sale and Arrowgrass are very, very interested in buying it. And it doesn't end with Arlington House. I'm hearing rumours that Arrowgrass and Thanet District Council are in negotiations about buying the freehold of the Dreamland car park behind me. And also that there may be negotiations taking place with Arrowgrass and Thanet about buying several other car parks off of the council, and maybe even taking over the management of car parking services in Thanet, but maybe that's a rumour too far. And it's not just about the purchase of property near to the Dreamland site that I'm interested in. It's also about two other developments that are going on at the moment. And over my shoulder you can see the Dreamland Cinema, and next to the Dreamland Cinema is the Sunshine Cafe. Now those two properties are owned by Thanet Council, and they're in the process of being refurbished as Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Council's Dreamland Restoration Project. Public money, several £1 million worth of public money through grants and the lottery is already in place to fund the works that are needed to get the cinema and the cafe opened. And the original plan was that the management of the Sunshine Cafe and the management of the cinema would actually be competitively tendered when the properties were ready. Now, I'm not for a moment making any suggestions of impropriety, but my gut feeling is when the cinema is finished, when the Sunshine Cafe is finished, that by some strange coincidence, Aragras will end up being the managers. But I'm not finished yet. Not only did Aragras come to the rescue of Sands Heritage and Dreamland and invest heavily in the park and along the seafront, but I've now discovered a new and very interesting connection between the former boss of Sands Heritage, Nick Connington, and the boss of Aragras, Nick Neal. And what I've discovered are two companies, Breed Hotels Limited and Breed Properties Limited, which have got on the board of directors two former Sands Heritage directors, John Adams and Nick Connington, but which are owned 100% through shares by Nick Connington of Aragras. And those companies have invested £4.6 million in purchasing 6, 7 and 8 Royal Crescent in Margate. And what's next door to 6, 7 and 8 Royal Crescent? Well, the Nayland Rock Hotel. And who owns the Nayland Rock Hotel? Well, no guesses for this, but of course Aragras boss Nick Neal, who purchased the Nayland Rock Hotel for £3.5 million early in 2017 as part of a personal pension fund. And last but not least, we have on Margate seafront what's called the Nayland Cafe, and this site over my shoulder just in front of the Nayland Rock Hotel was purchased by Nick Connington through another company called Sands Beach Huts Limited in 2014 for £335,000. So what does all this mean? Well, you've got a phenomenal amount of money being invested in and around the Margate seafront area by Aragras and by companies associated with Aragras. You've got over £7 million being spent here at the Nayland Rock. You've got £25 million already been spent by Aragras around the Dreamland area, so that's £32 million. Then you've got discussions about the purchase of Arlington House. Who knows what that might be, 10, 15 million pounds. Then you've got discussions with Thanet District Council about the purchase of the car park at the back of Dreamland. That could be another 10 million. So you've easily got £60 million plus being invested by Aragras or by Aragras associates in the immediate Dreamland area. So it can only mean of an investment of that order that Aragras and those associated with that company potentially see the seafront at Margate has been an extremely lucrative investment that could generate millions upon millions in profit for their shareholders and their investors back in the Cayman Islands. So I'll bring this video to an end by trying to summarise what I think is happening on Margate seafront, which essentially is a large offshore hedge fund, very wealthy organisation, which is investing heavily in redeveloping the Dreamland amusement park, introducing a musical venue side to things, buying up nearby property, and associated companies working with Aragras buying up around the Nayland Rock. And really it's quite clear that what they want to do is to dominate the entertainment, the leisure and the hospitality and hotel side of the economy in Margate. Now some people will say that's a great thing because it will create jobs, it will mean the local economy could be regenerated, which is a great thing when you think about the levels of poverty and deprivation in Margate. And I go along with that, I do agree with some of that. But when you think about the types of jobs that might well be created, they're going to be 0-hour contracts, minimum wage or slightly above, and it's not going to eliminate poverty because many people working those jobs are going to still be dependent upon benefits and who are still going to be living a fairly straitened and difficult life. But you've got to weigh up the advantages that the hedge funds might bring with the disadvantages that are caused by their industrial scale avoidance of tax. And although jobs are undoubtedly going to be created in Margate, although more visitors may well come, and although the local economy might start moving, just think of the millions, if not billions of pounds that offshore funds deprive the exchequer of every single year. And that's money that could be spent on education, on the health service, on social housing, on social care. So although there are undoubtedly benefits from investments such as those that are going to be made by Aragras, I believe personally that the disadvantages of billions of pounds every year of tax losses far outweighs any advantages that the hedge funds can bring us.